Welcome to the Envelopes and Me Contender series. I'm Yvonne Vieira. Today we're talking to Justin Hartley, who plays Kevin Pearson in the TV series This Is Us. Thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. I just want to mention that it's 11:33 and 51 seconds. The LA Times, sometimes when
I think we're already moving to El Segundo.
Sometimes when it comes to my house, sometimes it comes in the early morning, and sometimes it's late. And I'm just saying that this is very, very
but you
on
know what?
par.
Because this is us.
Okay, all right. Well, you can have it.
I can have it. We had a false start earlier, guys, and you missed a very good exchange between us, and I don't know if we can recreate it, so we'll just
It's
move
what
on.
I do for a living.
Yeah.
Let's recreate it.
But the first question I asked you was, we had you after the first season, and now you're back after the second. What has it been like to sort of settle into not only the character, but the sort of fandom surrounding the series?
Right, yeah. Again, good question. What I was saying was, it's interesting because I remember reading the pilot script and connecting with this character, where he was emotionally, what he was going through, kind of right away, like immediately. And now looking back on it, it's been a couple of years later, and I'm, obviously know so much more about him, and have had more time with him, had more time with his family, had more time with his life. And so it's just interesting how, it's a good question, because looking at it now, I'm like, wow, I know so much more about this guy than I did when I started, and I felt like I connected with him so, in such a great way at the very beginning. So yeah, and I think that's sort of what our show is going to do moving forward. I think 3 years from now, hopefully, if we're lucky enough to still be on the air, it'll probably feel the same way.
And the fandom part, that aspect, getting
That's
used
great.
to it.
That's great, though. Everyone's really nice. I always
Have there
say,
been unnice encounters, not nice encounters?
are you talking about this morning between you and me? When you were just awful
Sorry,
to me.
I hadn't had my coffee. But have you had people that really have their thoughts on Kevin?
Yeah, but I'm not a politician, right? So when people walk up to me, I usually know that they're going to be pleasant and nice, and I like that. I like if someone has their opinions on a character that I'm playing. What you don't want is for people to not care. Then that's a problem. So as an actor, part of an ensemble, part of a television show, you want people to be invested. You want people to have interest, like certain things that your character does. Maybe if they don't like certain things that your character does, at least they have an opinion about it. And that's what our characters are. They're flawed people. So not everything's going to be lined up and great. He's not always going to make great decisions,
Have you noticed that the reaction to the character has changed? In the first season, he was sort of this successful actor who wasn't really happy with where the types of roles he was playing, and maybe that was hard to identify with. But in the second season, we really go deeper with him and really see that there's something more to him than meets the eye.
Of course, yeah, and I think that was the whole first season, or at least the first 3/4 of it, maybe, was sort of setting that up, right? Letting you see this guy who seemingly does have everything, but yet he's complaining about it. And it's kind of one of those things where when you watch it, I know a lot of the audience members were probably sitting there thinking, what does this guy have to worry about? I mean, this is ridiculous. What's he complaining for? He's got everything.
Right.
But then when you watch the second season, you start to realize that very attitude that you had towards Kevin, not you personally, but all of us had towards Kevin, was kind of that's the root of what he's talking about, where he will say, kind of in these words, I need help.
And no one
people
would
will be
listen.
like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need help too.
Yeah.
Can I sign this, or whatever they would do? So, so it's kind of building that up, and then watching this guy just completely kind of fall apart.
How much did you know about what his journey would be for season 2? When did you know about the addiction he would sort of confront?
I think if memory serves, we talked about that before the second season. I knew there was going to be a change. I knew that there was going to be this huge thing that happened with Kevin where we see him change almost completely throughout the course of the series. I'm not sure if I knew exactly when that was going to happen, but I think the addiction, that whole storyline, I think we we got all that information before the end of the first season.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that sort of inform you, or did it get you excited, like, okay, now this makes sense to me?
It always made sense to me. I think anyone who behaves that way, and he's not a bad guy,
No.
but it's just the things that he would pretend, the things that he would try to convince people that mattered, he knew they didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who's doing that, there's something going on, right? Something's up.
Yeah.
And it's insecurity, and it's, you know, it's way beyond insecurity, but I always knew there was something going on with him, and that he needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that we were able to tell this story in a way that I think is kind of an honest depiction of what people really do go through. Mm-hmm. These struggles, they're very real, they're very difficult. You don't get through it on your own. And you don't necessarily get over it as much as you learn how to manage it and deal with it. And that was really important to us, is to tell a story in that way, as opposed to just like, here's a problem and then we're going to solve it eventually and we're going to wrap it up and it's going to be really nice and it's like, oh, he's all better.
Yeah.
Which just is not, it's not realistic. That's not how things work.
Well, in this season, we got sort of big 3 episodes. Each of the kids got
Isn't that
their.
cool?
It was very cool.
Yeah.
How was that for you to sort of dig deeper in that way, to really have a Kevin-centric episode and just dive in with him?
I think it helps everyone. I think we ask a lot of our audience, in my opinion, we ask them to invest emotionally. First of all, just the time, the hour that it takes to watch the show. And then it's a tough show to watch sometimes emotionally, right? You're going to break down. You're going to feel things that maybe you haven't felt in a couple of weeks or months or years or ever or whatever. And then it's going to maybe create some thoughts in your head that you haven't been thinking about, and maybe create some conversations that you haven't had. So we ask a lot of our audience, I think. And so I think it helps when you, the more you know about the characters, the easier it is to want to invest that time and that effort into those characters. And then for us, it helps just as an actor and diving in and, you know, figuring out history and, you know, mentally where this guy is and why he's doing the things that he does and what fuels him, what leads him to what drives him to sort of react the way that he reacts. And we were fortunate that the history kind of is already told for us in the show. But that definitely is just the time that you get to tell that story, that very important story, is extremely helpful.
How about when you got the script and saw how everything was sort of going to unfold and where you were going to have to go sort of emotionally with this character? I mean, the part on the football field was very, I don't know how many takes that took, but talk about that.
We did, you know, I don't know how many takes we did. It's different camera angles, but Ken Olin is really great about sort of steering and guiding without getting in the way, and then also realizing when he has it, and not like just continuing to just, you know, demolish you. So there's a way that, like, he and I, when we work together on set, there's a way of like talking about the scene without talking about the scene before you do it, that is helpful, as opposed to kind of walking through the scene before you've even done it, and you're like, just let me show it to you first before we start critiquing it, right? It's a delicate thing that he does. He does it extremely well. So I don't know how many takes we did, probably not that many, but for me, it wasn't necessarily about how to get there emotionally, because it was on the page. I mean, it's so sad. For me, the trick as an actor, I learned this, you know, several years ago, is I'm able to go there fairly easily, thankfully, but it's getting out that I always had a problem with. And so I would hesitate to go there because I knew I was going to sit with me all day. I was going to be in that kind of place all day. So I learned sort of a technique to get myself out of it. And
Which
then
is?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. But then that frees me up to sort of go there because I know I have a vehicle to get out, right? So for me, that's sort of what that was, and then kind of figuring out what the scene is about kind of gets you there.
Did you do much research or sort of model this sort of space that Kevin was in after anyone in your own life?
You have to. I mean, you have to do research You should. I don't think there's such a thing as over preparation. I really don't. I know some people disagree with me, but maybe they're just smarter than me. I don't think that you're done until someone says moving on. I think that's when you're done, because now you don't have there's nothing more to do, right? But yeah, I did. Like I said, I think it's really important. This is something that affects real people, real good people. It changes their lives, changes their families' lives. People lose their jobs, their families, their life, everything, because of this. So I did do my research, and I reached out to a few friends, and did a lot of research as far as reading goes and hearing stories, but personal stories from people as well. So I just think that's always helpful.
Did you talk to Milo at all? Like, considering his character experiences some of it, maybe not we don't see it blow up in quite the same way in his life the way we did in Kevin's.
I didn't.
No?
No, but that was by design though, because Milo's such a good actor, and he, for me right now, he is Jack Pearson, right? He's my dad. When I watch him, I'm like, oh, that's my dad. That's how good he is. But then he can jump into another role, and I'll just be like, and you almost forget that he's Jack Pearson. It's that, he's really good, right? So when I say by design, I felt like, and we'll never know, but I felt like if I talked to Milo about it, it would kind of be like counseling a little bit. Like if I got his perspective on how he manages this and how he does this with his character and all that, I didn't want to hear from Jack Pearson. Does this make any sense? This is getting a little heady and silly, but I didn't want Kevin Pearson to get advice from Jack Pearson.
Because it'd be like getting advice from his
dad.
dad.
He's dead. He cannot get that, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so, so I just felt like that would be a little bit of a cop out for me, and I wanted to, make sure that I didn't get it.
Because talk about why that's crucial, because we have this guy who lost his father as a teenager, didn't know what it was like to grow up with that person into adulthood, didn't see his dad.
Yeah. And I was just, and I'm in that headspace, and I'm thinking how great it would be to be able to just talk to him about it, and have him put his arm around me and say it's okay, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to give that to myself. I didn't want to have that, And I know that sounds so but it's true. It helped me anyway. Tell a true story.
Well, we're going to take some questions from the fans. One of them is from Twitter. If you could write one episode for Kevin, what would it entail?
If I could write an episode for Kevin, oh my gosh! If I could write an episode for Kevin, that would mean that I am in the room where it happens. I'm in the room with like the most talented writing staff in television, as far as I'm concerned. So I would celebrate that. Gosh, there's so many stories left to be told about his life. I really feel like we've seen 36 hours of this family's life. They have a lot more than that. So I don't know. I try to, honestly, they're coming up with so many great ideas, and the way that they're structuring the story and how it all kind of lays in together, and it's just wonderfully told. I try to sort of stay out of the, I always say it's like when a pitcher's throwing a no-hitter and you're on the team, you don't look at him, you don't talk to him, you pretend like it's never happening, and you just let him float over there for a while. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been so lucky to have so many great stories these past 2 seasons. What would be cool, I guess, is to see how he handles, if this movie is a hit, see how he handles that, or if this movie is a flop, to see how he handles that, I think going forward.
How is that to sort of, I mean, this is a show where you think what maybe is coming up or what has happened,
And Left Turn.
And Left Turn.
Yeah. How's it being a part of that?
As an actor, though, but
it's great. That's what
is
you
it
want.
hard to really think of?
No, it's great. It makes everything easier.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have story and substance that is that rich and that, complex and unpredictable in a way, sort of like life is. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But you set up for it, you prepare for it, and then it's never it's never what you thought it was going to be. So, but that's life, and that's our show, and it's just. It allows us to play a little bit more in that space, I think.
We have another question from Twitter. If you could offer Kevin some advice, what would you say?
if I could offer Kevin some advice, I would say right now I think he's doing the good stuff. I think he's hanging out with his family, people that love him. I think he's asking for help. I don't think he's too proud to ask for help. I think he's admitted, he's coming to terms with what his issues are, and I would stay the course, I guess, and I would just tell him to continue to knuckle down, and I would also tell him that I love the fact that he leads with his heart, and that he is finding that his comfortable space in life is not the spotlight on him necessarily. I think he's better when he's taking care of other people. I don't know if he's thought of that, but when I watch him, I think, man, he's good at taking care of other people.
He's Jack Pearson's son. What was it like for you to watch the Super Bowl episode? I mean, you're watching it from the outside, right? You're not acting in the part where we see what happens to Jack. How was that for you?
Yeah, I kept telling people, we're not drawing this out for the sake of drawing it out. There's more story to be told, and this is going to be the most heartbreaking thing you could possibly imagine. We knew what the cause was. When I say we, I mean the cast.
Yeah.
Way before it got revealed, and I'm so glad that we were able to keep that a secret. Meaning me, because I was, I'm the one that's going to blow it, right? And I knew that.
You
I was
didn't
like,
tell anybody?
No, didn't tell anybody.
Nobody.
Not a soul. And I not a soul.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Not even your daughter?
I mean, I think I told my dog.
Your dog?
Yeah. No, not even my daughter.
Wow.
And you know what? They didn't want to know. My wife, my daughter, they didn't want to know. They were like, "Don't tell me. Don't tell me." Mm-hmm. And my wife will say things to me like, she'll be like, "Can you please do me a favor and not leave the script on the counter?" Like if I'm working on it. So I have to hide it. So she's just out of sight, out of mind, right? But yeah, no, that was great. I just the idea that the audience found out that he was dead and how he died exactly when his wife found out. Mm-hmm. To experience it with Rebecca, I mean, that is just brilliant storytelling, is it not? You're there with her. And in that moment, like you said, I was an audience member as well, so you just feel like you're there with her. And what a knockout performance she gave, huh? I mean, give me a break. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that.
I heard that they didn't tell her that Milo was going to be there.
Is that true?
Like when she was going to see him on the bed.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. When I see something like that, like a performance like that, I don't even ask any questions. I just praise it. I mean, that's just, not a lot of people can do that.
Uh-huh.
And she's a joy to be around. She's a wonderful person as well. So you get like everything with Mandy Moore.
Was it a relief to have the question stop around that?
Yeah, but then there are always other questions.
Yeah.
So, Dan's a great writer, but maybe he does this to torture us as well. But he does like the last episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are these like, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen here with all the characters, and so now those questions are surfacing. So there's always going to be a question about what's next on This Is Us. Hopefully, as long as people are interested.
Oh no, there's lots of questions left.
Yeah.
Talk to me about shooting with Ron Howard and Sylvester Stallone.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sylvester Stallone's amazing.
What's the night before? Are you freaking out, or are you trying to keep cool?
No. See, because I had run into Sly at the gym a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is the guy. Literally, is the coolest cat. He's in there working out like the guy. I think he's 70 or
probably.
And he's lifting weights. I can't lift. I'm like, I don't know how I can't lift those weights, but he's doing it. And he's in there and he's working and gave me some tricks about how to like what exercises to do right before a scene. I thought that was kind of nice of him. And then he walks on the set, and the moment he walked in the trailer, there is a moment, I'm not gonna lie, where you're like, oh man, I gotta do this scene. Am I gonna do the scene with Rocky or Rambo? I don't know, but it's either way, I'm gonna bomb this thing.
Yeah.
And then he has this really cool way of, and it's part of his job now, I guess, because he's such a huge, iconic celebrity. Movie star, he has this way of within about 3 seconds disarming you, and now you feel like you're talking to a guy, and now you can do your job.
Wow.
And I think he's figured that out about himself, that he kind of has to do that, otherwise he'd be working with fans. Mm-hmm. Everyone he worked with would be like this. And then Ron Howard, believe it or not, I've never shared a stage with him. We were on a phone call.
On the phone, yeah.
I mean, I was in the other room. We were on a real phone call.
So it's really him talking.
Yeah. I mean, I was right there, but we've never shared a frame together, really.
So what was it like on set, though?
He's great. Ron, like, after he was done, he came in on a Saturday for us and brought his father at the time. He's since passed away, unfortunately, but he brought his father, who was great. And he's walking around the Paramount lot, and he's I brought my mother. So we're walking around, and my mom is like, she can't believe that I'm talking to Ron Howard. I can't either. And he's showing me, like, about the lot and about how when he was filming Happy Days and this and that and what he's doing over here. It's just, he's just the coolest guy in the world. He really is. He's a super nice guy and really bright, and he's an artist, but he's also just like a really cool guy, you know? It's awesome.
Well, in the season finale of season 2, I mean, we've been introduced to older Randall before in mid-season. And then in the finale, we see him again. So I'm guessing we're going to see an older Kevin.
I don't know. That'd be fun.
You do know.
What?
You have to know.
What? I'm gonna start with the hard questions now. I told you. No, I don't know, and that could be really cool. What? What?
What do you think older Kevin would look like then?
I mean,
since you don't know, what would you guess?
I would guess older.
I know,
although maybe not. What if he looks younger? That would work too. Like, older Kevin looks younger.
Do you think his style changes?
You know what? I wonder if he got, like, bad plastic surgery or something.
Maybe.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think his style changes. I think he's growing up, and I think Kevin, what we're seeing is really like the evolution of a boy into a man. I think he's turning into a man. I think he did it about a decade and a half too late, or later than most people. Never too late. But I think that's what we're seeing. So yeah, I don't see Kevin as this 60-year-old, like, Peter Pan. Like, yeah, I don't think that's who he would be. I think he probably grows up.
Well, and we also see that Kevin in the finale is on a plane, bound for Vietnam with Zoe. How much can you share about what you know we can expect for season 3?
I think you're going to see some of that. I think you're going to. I think, from what I understand, you're going to see that, what that story is. So you don't want to know because you're going to see that. But I think it's in a way, maybe trying to get answers to some questions that would help him figure out where he comes from and what's inside him. So a self-exploration in a way, kind of via that sort of path. So.
Have you guys had discussions about season 3, or that hasn't happened yet? Okay.
We have. It's great.
You're just being.
No, I'm telling you, it is. These, I don't know how they do it. They come up with these. Just when you think you've seen something that is, like, how could they do it better than this? Is the best thing. How could they do it better than this? Then they top themselves. They keep doing it.
Another question that we saw frequently was, what was the most challenging scene for you to do in season 2?
You know, it changes from day to day. It's like asking me my favorite flavor of ice cream. It's like I always change it, but I really love Kevin. I really, really do. And so the challenge for me was sort of just the heartbreak of watching him go as I'm reading the script. This is me reading the script. Watching him go through all of this stuff where you just see where he's going, and it's like, man, this is not going to end well for him. And make it just there was so much heavy stuff that he went through, so many heavy things, so many emotionally draining, hard things that he went through in season 2. It's hard to pick one. It was just this. It was a matter of attrition, really. I think, as far as an acting standpoint, is just being able to sustain that for a long period of time. But we have a lot of help. Like, we have great directors, we have great writers, we have great. I
got nervous with Tess in the car.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, where is this going?
Yeah, he didn't know she was in the car. I don't know if you remember or not. He didn't know she was there. He thought he was alone. Not that it's okay.
No,
but it's different. Yeah.
Were you wondering too, like, what's going to happen when I turn the page?
Yeah, and then when I saw Tess was in the car, I was like, I think I'm good. I think I still have a job. I mean, they're not gonna. That would be awful. No. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, gosh, I wonder. Who knows? But I think if that wouldn't have happened, if he wouldn't have been pulled over, if he wouldn't have gotten arrested, I don't know where he would have been.
Right.
Would he have gone to rehab? I doubt it.
Yeah.
So, so forced into rehab, court-ordered rehab for him was rock bottom at that point, and it's something that he needed. So.
Well, I was going to ask.
Go ahead, do it. Shoot. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you think like Kevin is okay with having a slow cooker in his house? But I guess they don't really find out what the cause was, right?
They really wouldn't, would they? I mean, I don't know. That's a
Yeah.
good question. I don't know how.
But you're fine with slow cookers.
I'm not sure that was the cause, wasn't it? Wasn't it smoke inhalation? That was the cause.
Well, because a slow cooker started a fire. I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. We have a round of a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
So prepare yourself.
Okay.
Last show you binge watched.
Oh gosh, I don't know what it's called. Off the top of my head, I'm losing track of. What's the one? Help me out with the. It's a Netflix show about the cult, Wild Wild Country. Is that what it's called?
Wild Wild Country, yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. All right.
What classic show would you have wanted to star in, of like any show?
Gosh, there's so many. What classic show would I wanted to star? I feel like they're remaking all of them.
I know.
Because I was gonna say MacGyver, and then I was gonna say Magnum PI, and then I was gonna say the A-Team, and then gosh, classic show that I would have loved to have starred in. Oh, you know what would have been fun? Coach.
Yes.
Didn't you love that show? My brother and I have seen every single episode of Coach probably minimum 10 times. Minimum.
And they were going to bring that back.
And it holds up. I know, I heard about that. What happened there?
I
Who
don't
dropped
know
the
what
ball on that
happened,
one?
but I hope they reconsider.
Let's get someone on the phone.
Yes,
We need more Coach.
We need Craig T. Nelson.
Yes, we need more Craig T. Nelson. We need more Coach.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
down for this.
Me too.
Tell Bob Greenblatt.
I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll work for free.
What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were younger?
Oh gosh, so many things. We don't have enough time, but that as much as you don't sweat the small things, and as much as you try not to sweat the small things, don't sweat the fact that you're going to sweat them anyway. You're gonna worry. It's just about managing your worry moments and your stress. But I don't know. I feel lucky that I figured out pretty early, to sort of let some things go that are out of my control. So many things are out of my control. I have perspective. I understand that I don't control anything.
Favorite Golden Girls?
Favorite one?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean character?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh God. You know what? That's a tough question because I don't think it works without any of them. I don't think you can have two or even three. Were there only three or were there four? I think there were four. Yeah. I don't think it works without four, including the mom, right?
Golden Girls?
Yeah. But I don't think it works without the mom. I don't think it works without. Man.
Which one are you
Blanche.
most like?
Oh. The mom? Probably the mom. Yeah. Probably the mom. Without a doubt.
Maybe you could borrow some of that when
That
it's featured
sass?
Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being here
Thank
and
you so
for
much.
dealing with our technology problems.
No problem.
And thanks to all you for tuning in.
I didn't get my paper today. I know I didn't. I paid for it. But I didn't.
Circulation. If you want to check out more of our Emmy chats, head over to LAtimes.com.